Okay, we were just having a lively discussion.
Yes.
Today we're talking about rabbits and strawberries.
Strawberries.
Oh, that's right. We're talking about the agenda. Kill Whitey.
No, he is talking about that, not me.
We're going to kill Whitey the next 3 episodes, right? We're going to kill white flour, white sugar, and white dairy. But, well, it's going to be more inclusive than that. So, we want to kill Whitey. We're going to kill Whitey.
Folks, I tried. I tried to keep him in line.
She tried to suppress our kill Whitey agenda, right? She tried to suppress it. She is the suppressor. But I care about you guys, so I'm not willing to suppress my kill Whitey agenda. Alright, so today, which Whitey were we killing?
I'm not killing anything.
Would she just maim Whitey?
I'm not killing anything.
She's afraid of the Homeland Security coming in picking her up.
So we're talking about whites today. We are doing whites like laundry. We're talking about...
Just say kill Whitey.
No.
Say it a little bit.
No.
Just like a little bit.
So what we are talking about are the 3 whites. Does anybody remember from the last talk what the 3 whites are that we're going to talk about? They're the 3, should we give them a hint? The 3 worst...
people,
no,
places,
stop.
And things.
Okay. So there's 3 things we're going to discuss. Those 3 things are foods.
Oh, foods. I like this.
Foods.
I like where you're going with this.
Yes. If you can remember what those are, please type those in, and then we'll tell you which one we're doing tonight if Dr. G already didn't. Did you tell him?
You were supposed to be listening. You said you're the #1 fan. So, I don't know. Which, by the way, thank you guys for joining. Make sure you share this video with your friends and family. And I'm trying, Deb gave me some tea that Amy told her about, and I'm not even sure what it's called, but I am drinking womankind tea.
He's getting in touch with his feminine self.
Yes, because today we're going to talk about how dairy turns men into women, and I'm going to start that off with some womankind puka tea.
Yeah, I don't know.
Puka tea?
I don't know.
You know, your name's Hajaj. Yeah, that's Puka. I bet it's...
That's the brand. Yeah.
Which, by the way, I'm Dr. Garrett, and this is...
Holly Hajaj.
Hey, you said it right this time. Good job.
Yes, I did.
All right.
Again.
So, we're going to talk about... This week, we're talking about kill Whitey, white milk, and we're going to talk about why dairy is the devil.
Yes.
And then we're going to talk next week about flour or wheat. So we'll say white flour, but we're talking about wheat and gluten all together.
Whoops.
And then the next week after that, we're going to talk about sugar and the whole 160 pounds of sugar Americans eat every single year on average, and how we get it and how it affects your immune system, all these kind of things.
Yeah, so Brianna got the milk. She mentioned white rice, which we could include too, right? Since it's white processed. Hi, Rachel. Hi, Brianna. Rachel said dairy and flour. She got those too as well. Hello to everybody else who's watching. Thank you for joining us. And like Dr. G said, please share our talk. A lot of people don't really know about dairy and why should we consider not consuming dairy. It's such a common thing that we associate with health.
Right.
So we're going to talk about why we associate it with health and why we maybe should consider not associating it with health. Dr. G will fill us in on that. I am curious, how many of you are either on or off dairy. If you feel so compelled to share, please just type in dairy or no dairy. Like,
Yeah.
I consume dairy or I don't consume dairy, just dairy or no dairy. Type that in and let us know who we're talking to tonight. To kind of see where you guys are at. We can tailor our talk a little bit more specifically.
Yeah. And one hint about sharing this, so when you share in the message part on Facebook, just learn why we should kill Whitey tonight.
And so, Dr. Garrett, would you like to tell us more about dairy?
I feel very womanly with this.
Okay.
All right.
That's good.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, Beverly. Hi, Beverly. Hi, Kyle. No dairy, no dairy. I see some. Thank you guys for your responses.
Yeah, so towards the end, we're going to ask for you guys to kind of help us with some non-dairy options to replace some of the things that people love. And we know there's a lot of stuff that sucks, and there's a lot of stuff that's pretty damn good. So pulling from the group is going to be really great for that. So basically with dairy, we always say dairy is the devil, right? Dairy is the devil. But not, everybody loves cow milk and rat milk and dog milk, but no one wants the human breast milk, cheesecake, right? No, that's weird, right? Nobody wants human breast milk ice cream from Grandma. That's weird, right?
We're okay with it. Right. We're okay with other mothers, animal mothers.
If some stank cow makes some goat cheese, no, they don't make goat cheese. If they make some Breyer's ice cream, all of a sudden that's normal. That's healthy, right? So, we'll even talk about the historical perspectives too. But the reason dairy is the devil is because if you look back at at Harvard's announcements that they came out with, right? So I did a lot of my continuing education through Harvard Medical School, and I love that I get their newsletter, and one of the newsletters says that dairy is not part of a healthy diet. And that was really awesome because I've known this, and we talk about it in the lifestyle medicine coursework, but no major institution usually says that because they need dairy council money. And so with Harvard, they're the richest school in the whole entire planet, probably the universe. Or if you're Arnold Schwarzenegger, the solarverse. And that means they can say what they want, really. So when they came out and said that dairy was not tied to a healthy diet, that was pretty shocking. And then about, I think 3 or 4 years later, they actually came out and they said dairy was actually harmful to human health. Now we're talking non-human dairy. That dairy was dangerous to human health. And one of the things, they were quoting in another article from Harvard was they were talking about the plastics and how dangerous the estrogenic plastics are. So like the phthalates, the BPA, the styrenes, all those plastics that we use on a regular basis, they're horrible. I mean, they cause anal genital malformations of a developing fetus just from touching like Walmart receipts that are thermocoated because it's estrogen. And he said as dangerous as all that is, they are more worried about dairy when it comes to changing the hormone structure of the human body. And that's because the dairy is 500,000 times more bioactive or bioavailable than plastic estrogens are.
So I just want to say, whoops, hold please.
Don't touch that.
Oh.
Now you broke it.
Okay. I just want to say that if this is blowing your mind right now and you've never heard this before, no one's ever told you dairy might be the devil.
The devil.
We know some good mental health professionals. And maybe we can even hook you up with a good support group.
That's
because
right.
I'm not going to mince words. This is not easy, folks. It wasn't easy for me to consider it. If you're just considering this for the first time, we understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think most of us grew up on Whitey.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You're raised with the dairy. Mm-hmm.
The dairy.
So, so one of the cool things too is when you look at research, there was a great journal article in Science Direct, and it quoted a lot of this research. But it quoted an article from, I think it was Journal of Endocrinology, and it said that we have always known dairy was directly tied to heart disease, cancer, and diabetes, but we didn't know the mechanism until now. And if I forget, you got there's I think it's called the White Lie documentary, but there's a really good documentary from New Zealand that actually talks about type A and type B milk. So we got to remember that.
Speaking of that, really quick, Jessica's asking, even if it's grass-fed dairy and butter too?
Right. So think of like an organic hippie devil, right? That's still destroying your life and killing everybody in your family. So it's just a Prius with no brakes, right? Seems like a good choice, but in the end, you're still screwed.
And we'll explain why. He'll talk about the
I'm not explaining why. You just have to take my word from it.
I guess the show is over.
It's some vaguely quoted research.
Yes.
America! That's how we do it.
So, hang in there with us if you're saddened right now and distraught.
According to Fox News.
I feel you.
And Breitbart, milk is good for you. But Harvard and the rest of the world says. Okay, never mind. All right.
So tell us why. Why does Harvard say that? What does it have to do with the hormones? What does it have to do with addiction?
Yeah, so the first thing is, why do people love dairy? Why do they love it?
It's delicious. And why don't you join in with me on this, on answering this? Why do you love dairy, people?
Or
it's rich.
Do you like dairy, or do you love dairy?
I love it.
You love it? You have like an emotional response?
I have an emotional attachment. This talk goes straight to the center of my heart.
What about cabbage? Do you love cabbage?
I do not love cabbage. It's good. It's good.
What about kale?
But I don't want to bathe in it like I do cottage cheese.
Yeah. What about kale?
Kale's okay. Kale's okay.
So you have
it's excellent in a smoothie.
So you have an emotional response to a food. Emotional. So there's part of your brain called the limbic system that's tied to things like sex and fear and anger and love and desire and smell and taste and all these things, right? And that part of the brain logs this as an emotional response as opposed to other foods. And that's because of one major thing that both dairy and wheat have together. Morphine. Dairy is a drug. And if you love dairy, then you love morphine. And if you love morphine, we should hang out after the show and inject some cheese whiz into our arms. And then sleep in a box in the alley.
We can just eat it.
So,
I'm fine with that. Eating it's more...
Casomorphin is one of the major proteins that's in dairy. So that's why people have an emotional tie to it, is because it has morphine in there. When life sucks, dairy is there to help us through it.
It does help.
Just like our friend Barry that sleeps in the van. Hey, my patient says I made a drug reference to my patient today.
You did?
Yeah, I told her to take her supplements with a glass pipe and light it. And then she started laughing and she started quoting the show. So that's pretty funny.
The show is dangerous. I tell you, it's dangerous.
So
it's addictive, okay.
So it's addictive. So same thing with wheat. Wheat is glutinomorphin, which we'll talk about next week. But casomorphine is 20 times more addicting than morphine as a street drug. That's why you're like 20 times better just doing morphine. Right?
Wow.
I think that's right.
And this is not
Seems
all.
right.
This is not all, folks, about dairy. We've got a bigger case to build.
Right. So that's why we love it. But why does it hurt us? Right? And think of dairy as like that boyfriend that stole your credit cards, bought a bunch of X Games, and then started dating your sister, and then lost your cat. That's the kind of love you should have for dairy, right? You love it. Dairy don't love you, right? Dairy doesn't even like you. It just likes you because you had a car, right? And a full-time job. You were the first girl that had a credit card it dated, right? So dairy, although you love it, it doesn't love you. And one of the things that they looked at in the research in Journal of Endocrinology is they looked at the hormonal content. And this very specific hormone. Now, a lot of you guys that know me have probably heard this a million times, but yeah, hear it again. So, they looked at estradiol. Now, men and women both produce the same hormones. When it comes to estrogens, they make estrone, estriol, and estradiol. And estrone and estriol are the weak estrogens that protect you against hormonal damage, right, or hormonal growth. Then estradiol surges during puberty, and breasts grow, uterus grows, ovaries grow, and hips widen, and you get secondary sexual characteristics. So, with that estradiol, it should only peak during puberty and then go back down, and then estrone and estriol will maintain all that female change. So that's the way it's designed. So I make this much estradiol, so I look like a boy. You made this much, which made you look like a girl. You went through puberty, it went up to this. After puberty, it went right back down, and you maintain all that tissue. But cow breast milk has this much estrogen.
Whoa.
Huge amounts of estrogen. And that's because Naturally, right?
Not because it's fed hormones.
Right, so that's grass-fed, grass-finished, raised on a commune. That is a healthy cow making that much hormone. And that's because breast milk's whole job is to grow a baby as fast as you possibly can outside the uterus. So, if you look at the other hormone that's in there, there's a huge amount of a hormone called insulin growth factor 1. And insulin growth factor 1, or IGF-1, says let's grow tissue really, really fast. So, if you think about how fast a human baby grows from human breast milk that has those same hormones, that's a 7-pound baby going to 30 pounds, and it takes 2 years to create that. So our breast milk, your breast milk, is going to have enough hormones to slowly grow a baby. So humans are like the most pathetic thing ever in nature. That giraffe that was born the other day, right?
Yes.
Boom, popped out, started walking.
Yeah, that was crazy. April? Who saw April? I know some of you did. I know Tiffany did.
Yeah. I think it already has a job by now. It's eating solid food, right?
Right.
It's probably tried cigarettes once or twice. Where a human baby just lays there and screams and then would die, right?
Right.
So the amount of hormones that humans produce to give a human baby to grow fast is very, very slow and pathetic. But the amount of estrogen in and insulin growth factor in breast milk from a cow is designed to take a 75-pound baby to 1,000 pounds in less than a year, which is about 10 months.
And make that correlation then, are we bigger? Are we physically bigger?
Yeah.
I believe we are.
Oh my God, if you look, I have a daughter that's in 6th grade, and when you go to drop her off, you're like, are those high school students or 8th graders?
Yeah.
Because they look almost as developed as the teachers walking next to them.
Yeah.
But yet my daughter looks like she's an 11-year-old. She looks her age. Our 8-year-olds look like 8-year-olds. But there are a lot of 8-year-olds that do not look like 8-year-olds anymore.
And doesn't that also contribute to girls starting their periods earlier?
That's right. So this will be a good question. You like your questions?
I
Which
do.
is very engaging.
I do.
All right. So
By the way, before you go on, hold that thought.
Damn it.
Hi, Leslie. Hi, Kaylin. Hi, Carla. And Newman. Hi, Gray. Hi, Jessica. Jennifer. And Michael. And Will. And I think I saw Kyle. Hello.
What's up, Kyle?
Hey, Kyle.
All
right. Go. You were going to ask a question.
Oh, in 1960, so when a girl starts her puberty, when a girl has her menstrual cycle, then physiologically, what that means is she's ready to have a baby, right? So in 1960s, what was the average age of a girl starting her period to have a baby?
To have a baby
so
in the 60s?
Yeah.
12, 11.
Good Lord.
Is that high?
No, that's crazy talk. 16. You fell. All right.
16.
Well, yeah, you take a 16-year-old, right? Isn't there a show like 16 and Pregnant or something? That's spot on.
Girls were starting their periods at 16.
Oh, I see why you're shocked. Yeah. 16. I see why you're shocked. Okay.
Why?
Yeah, because 16 seems insane now, but that was normal. So in 1980, which is your generation, what was the average age?
I'm going to say the same.
What?
10 to 12.
12.
Okay.
So, all right, you got that right.
Okay.
Now comes the bonus round. 2010, what's the average age a girl starts her period and is ready to have a baby?
I'm going to say, anybody else want to guess too?
All right.
Somebody's
got to guess.
The current average age for starting your period.
Yeah. And I'll let you know, I think it was the Schwann study showed that we have girls as young as 3 years old now having secondary sexual characteristics.
Wow.
As young as 3. But the average age now...
We've got
so
a 10.
just because you're getting closer.
10.
Jennifer, you're pretty close.
Are you guys looking it up online?
You guys are all just saying the same thing the other person said. You're getting warmer.
So we need to go lower. I'm going to say, my guess was 8.
Okay, no.
I've got an 11.
Michelle, you went the wrong way. Lower. Lower. Getting
just
warmer.
tell
Damn
him.
it. There.
Oh,
all right, there we got it. All right, so Jennifer's right. It's 8 years old is the average age. It used to be, just a few years ago, 9 years old for white girls and 8 years old for black girls. But now it's 8 years old.
Why is it different?
Because the menses, a lot of people don't know this, is racist. It's racist.
That's really rude.
I know, that's what I told it. That's why we got to kill Whitey. Right? That white milk.
He's never going to let this go. I made this an issue, and he is now never going to let this go. We're just being vulnerable.
It's my womankind tea that makes me act this way. So.
All right. So cow's milk, so dairy has all this growth hormone that's, I'm just recapping so we don't lose track. So it has all this growth hormone that's causing all these issues for us.
Right.
Causing us to
Growth
get bigger, causing us to start our periods sooner.
Mm-hmm.
What else? What about for men?
Well, before that, dairy is also why 90% of all autoimmune diseases are women. Right? Autoimmune disease is sexist, and it won't give men a fair chance. Because they drink all the estrogens from plastic, from lotions to dairy. Women are bombarded by all these fake and real estrogens. Sorry.
Why more so than men?
Oh, because men are so...
Are women already predisposed?
Oh my gosh. This woman tea is making me cough.
That's what you get. He thought he was going to be cute drinking the women's tea.
This woman's tea is killing me.
And now this is what you get.
Is this what womankind's like? Coughing a lot?
You get an allergy.
Oh, man.
That's what you get.
Okay, so. Okay. What was the question?
The question was, why is it different between men and women for autoimmune disease? Yeah.
Because high amounts of estrogen, whether it's natural or whether it's from dairy or whether it's from synthetics, is actually, when it's high, it will suppress something like, I think it's called factor I, which is how your immune system suppresses itself after infection. So basically, we should have infections, and then our immune system goes up, and then it suppresses and goes back down to normal. But with high amounts of estrogen, it goes up, and then it goes up for the next infection, next infection, next infection. Throw in some molecular mimicry for especially wheat and dairy, and then you end up with an autoimmune disease. But all your Raynaud's, Sjogren's, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, it's all women for the most part.
Yeah.
So men are starting to get a little bit with like IBS and stuff, but all these estrogenic things that used to be always women, we're catching up, right? You guys may be number one when it comes to autoimmune, especially dairy-induced autoimmune, but we're gonna catch up.
Yes, through breast.
It's through a bunch of dairy. Yeah.
Right. And what are the diseases that men are getting now as a result of dairy?
Well, so for women, it's all the estradiol growth. So it's like puberty lifelong. So that's the endometriosis, that's the fibroids, that's the uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, breast cancer, all those kind of things, fibrocystic breast. Because all those, basically, if you keep adding in those estradiols, then you're going through puberty for the next 40 years, right?
Okay.
For guys, though, this is where it gets really interesting or discouraging. And can you move that cable just a little bit, because then it'll charge.
Oh,
It's
sure,
not charging.
sure. We have technical difficulties.
It's like when I buy a coffee with my shirt off. There's no charge.
Oh my gosh.
Because they're laughing. They're like,
that wasn't one of your best.
So,
Okay.
for dudes, most guys don't know that men start out as women, right? And then we get lazy and then we turn into guys. So, all guys start out with ovaries, a uterus, breast tissue, and then if we have a Y chromosome, those ovaries descend to become testicles, which is interesting because the scrotum, I think, is actually called the tunica vaginalis.
Huh. Oh, really?
So guys have a vagina, basically. It's just that it's an outie instead of an innie,
Yeah.
and that stores their ovaries, right? So then the uterus shrivels down and becomes a prostate. So it starts the size of a pear and then grows down to the size of a walnut. That's smaller in utero, but in adults, those sizes. But breast tissue doesn't change at all. So all guys can breastfeed. All guys can, right? Unless they had a bilateral gynecomastectomy, well, then they can't. But that's surgical. Otherwise, for men then, what do we think is going to happen if they go through female puberty? We expect those same tissues to have the same problems. So the number one elective surgery for men in the United States is?
What do you think?
They know this because I say this all the time.
Your patients probably know it.
So what's interesting, we should ask Kyle. What is it, Kyle?
I don't know. We'll see.
Kyle, you're on South Park, and I have Kyle right there.
So number one elective surgery, elective plastic, would you call it, surgery for breast reduction. Yes.
Jessica, that's very good.
Yes.
So the number one elective surgery for men in the United States is male breast reduction surgery. And that's because men have the same exact breast tissue as their wives, which means if they go through male puberty with female hormones, then at 30 they can get on growing breasts. In fact, teenagers, same thing. I always say this when I talk to patients, but I'm telling you, every year it's like this. You go to the water park and you look at boys that are like 12, 13 years old, and you cover up their head and you cover up their torso or their belly, and you're like, that's not chubby, that is a breast. That is a real, actual breast.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, crazy, crazy. And one guy that was sitting next to us, he's probably like in his mid-30s. He is all muscular at the pool, right? I wasn't jealous. I pack a kegger. You know what I'm saying? Six-pack. Who wants a six-pack at a party? You bring the keg.
Who needs a six-pack when you got the party bowl? Or the party ball. Remember the party ball?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, I didn't grow up in
I didn't say that.
the 90s. All right. So, but he had boobs. He had full-on breasts, right? And so I was just like, I wanted to say something about, maybe he should lay off the ice cream and milk, but he might have punched me.
But yeah, maybe that wouldn't have been very nice.
So
yeah.
And then there was a dude when I went to a sophomore meeting out in Venice Beach, California, and there was this just super cool looking gangster guy. I mean, he looked like Lil Wayne. He had the tattoos on his neck. He had a do-rag on. He had his shirt off, gold chain swinging as he walked, and he's coming towards me on the boardwalk. And I was just like, that dude looks straight out of a video. He looks super cool. It's like living in the neighborhood again.
Uh-huh.
And but his nipples were poofed out like a little 10-year-old girl, or let's say a 10-year-old girl from 1980. And so he had nipple butting already, right? And so then here's this dude that's all hardcore. I'm ghetto-licious. And he's got boobs started, right? He looks like a 10-year-old girl's breast. So I wanted to go up to him and say, hey, man, you should really lay off the dairy because blah, 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 blah. But I did not want to get punched that day.
I'm glad that you did not.
You think he would have took it well? I think he might have took it well. I feel like his crew would have circled around and said, tell me more, Dr. G. Right? That's all game-changing, man. You can't be a baller with 10-year-old breasts.
I just think that regardless of where we're at in America with dairy, we should accept people as they are.
Yeah, but we should be educating everybody. Everybody.
And that's what our show is for. That's what
You hate him because he's from
right?
California? Even Californians need to know. So then what about the prostate?
Okay. So
I'm getting a feeling she wants me to move on. Right?
Yes.
It's kind of like when
we're halfway in.
Raised cows. They were always like, move on. No, that's terrible. All right. That's the dairy talking. So with guys, they have something called benign prostatic hypertrophy, which means your prostate's growing really big and we don't know why, right? And it got really bad about 1960s is kind of where we started seeing prostate problems. And then they became huge after 1990. And the treatment for them is Proscar, or if you go to a natural person, saw palmetto. But all those drugs are 5-alpha reductase inhibitors, which actually block estrogen. So they're saying, we don't know what's going on with you, buddy. You can't pee? That's weird. Take this estrogen blocker. But let's not have an estrogen discussion of what the hell's going on. Let's just say it's bizarre and we don't know, right?
Right.
So in 2000, it was 1 in 2 men by age 50 had a prostate so large they could barely pee or ejaculate. And then by 10 years later, 2010, the stat was still 1 in 2, but now it was down to 40-year-olds. 40-year-old men that could barely pee. And what's crazy is I used to go to the movie theater all the time. I've told this story many times, but I go to the movie theater all the time. In a guy's restroom, you walk in, it's a big square and a bunch of urinals, and then basically everybody's drank a gallon of soda and then they're peeing like crazy, right? So I would watch maybe like 2-3 movies in a row. It was at the Dollar Cinemark in Fort Worth. It was like dirt cheap, or it was Arlington, and it was like dirt cheap but brand new theater. Like it was awesome. Did you just roll your eyes? This is important stuff.
I did not.
God damn it!
I think you're being hypersensitive. That's what I think.
Trying to have us.
I think you've had too much dairy.
Trying to have an antidote here, or damn it! All right.
All right.
So these dudes, I would notice because I'm very observant. You know, because I drink the woman tea. That makes me very. So I'd go in there and there would be dudes standing there. And then I would go pee, and I'd pee forever because I had a really big bladder. I don't want to brag, but I'm from Texas, and we have bigger bladders. And then I would get done peeing for half an hour, and then I would turn, and I would notice that these dudes were still there. I'd always notice this. And then I'd walk out, and I'd wash my hands because I'm a gentleman, right? And I'd turn back and look, and I'd be like, what is these dudes' problems? And I was like 18, 19 years old, right? I was like, what the heck is going on with these guys? Like, why are all these dudes standing at these urinals forever? They can't be peeing more than me, right? So, when those stats came out from Harvard about the prostate, I was just like, holy crap, those dudes just drank a gallon of soda and they can't pee.
Yeah.
That's why they were standing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question.
It's a great story, isn't it?
It is a great story.
It's a great story.
It's
not an eye-rolling kind of story.
I
feel like the eye-rolling was premature.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Prejudging there.
Jessica
yes.
is asking if they cut out the dairy. I think she had concerns about her boys. If you cut out the dairy, will the prostate and breasts shrink?
So if you're saying if you kill Whitey, in reference to dairy.
Thank you for putting that on there.
So the one thing that they typically do, which is why prostate therapy tends to be pretty sucky outcome or prognosis, is that you get all these exogenous sources of dairy or of estrogen, and then they just give you a pill, and then the goal is just to try to maintain it. Very rarely, like, reverse it. And so for preventative, it's awesome, right? So don't grow the prostate really big, just like we did forever until about 1950s, right? Just don't cause it. That's the big thing. So with your boys, it's the same thing. Is don't do dairy, don't do plastics, don't do colognes and those kind of things that are estrogenic, like the phthalates and the styrophones and styrenes and benzenes and all those.
Do we have studies that say it's possible to reverse?
Oh, sure. Yeah, and you see it. Actually, there was an interesting study where they did, they had this on NPR Science Friday, where men who had prostate cancers, but they didn't want to do any therapy at all for it, just did natural kind of fruits and vegetables, changed their diet, right? So these were great candidate patients because they weren't going to do chemo anyways, or radiation or anything. And they had better outcomes. It was really awesome. I think it was Dean Ornish that published those studies.
Really?
Oh, you know Dean?
He's my friend.
Dean's my friend.
Are you jealous?
Dean was my friend before your friend.
I don't know about that.
So, I thought I was all smart when I talked to patients about certain things, and then I looked at Dean Ornish's book from 1972, and I was like, crap, he came up with the same stuff I did before I came up with it. That dude's super smart.
I'm going to check in here right quick. Hi,
Okay.
Bethany. Michelle is here, and Holly is watching. Hi, Holly. Another Holly.
You're Holly.
Yeah. There's a Miss Rachel is watching, a good friend of mine. Glad you're here with us. Who else do we have? Larry Williams is watching now, too. Hello, hello.
And Frank Sobchak.
If you've got friends who are struggling with anything and have not considered cutting out dairy, share this talk. Share this talk for those people. Share this talk for those people who are addicted to dairy and might benefit.
And type in what?
Dairy is the devil. Stop. Dairy is the devil.
All right. I'll leave it. I'll let it be. I'm a moderate guy.
Okay, so we've talked about the Harvard study, and we've
Yes.
talked about hormones and how that works, and we've talked about morphine and how dairy is addictive. Is there anything else? Oh, so there's all these things that good things that people say about
Wait,
dairy.
I want to say something more about the breasts.
Okay.
As a guy, breasts are very important to me.
I was going to make a joke, but I wasn't sure I should go there.
We do not need rude jokes on this show. Especially men's breasts, because I have those.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
Eyes up here. No. Eyes up here. So, what's really cool, or not cool, but horrible, is that, okay, we didn't have breast cancer for women. I mean, we did. It was a very rare thing, right? Until about 1960, and that's when we caused the sudden epidemic with the estrogenic chemicals and pesticides, herbicides, right? So then it became from very rare to 1 in 7 women now have a risk of breast cancer in America, right? Your risk drops dramatically if you go anywhere else in the world. So it's only a genetic disease for America since 1960. But that being said, so all these women have to do mammograms and thermograms and all this kind of stuff, and like 90% of all the biopsies turn to be negative. But now guys, Harvard came out and said that men now need to get regular mammograms.
Wow.
Now, 2 things. Is one out of every 1,000 breast cancers are now dudes. And I actually had a patient that had a husband had to have a mammogram.
I have a friend whose brother died of breast cancer. I have another friend whose father is struggling with that as well.
That's crazy to me. Absolutely crazy. We
Yep.
created this, right? But what was the other thing? Dang it. Oh, yeah. The other benefit to this is if men have to do mammograms, I bet they come out with nicer mammogram machines. I bet you anything, right? You don't see guys getting like testicles squished between there to get x-rayed as a preventive thing.
Yeah.
No. So that will be the outcome to all this is we will create nicer mammograms because I'm not getting my breast squished between anything. Right?
I know there's some women out there who can relate. Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yep. Okay. So we've talked about all these bad things, and I'm sure there are people who have these burning questions, especially those who've just started on this dairy journey. What about calcium? What about protein? What about vitamin D? What about the fact that they put that on the food pyramid?
Yeah.
What about that?
Food pyramid is a pyramid scheme.
Pyramid.
Right?
Ooh.
Laid out by
I
the
like that.
white man to screw over based on all the white foods. White milk, it's all, see the top, white sugar, then somewhere in there there's white dairy, and then there's bread. Bread is the base of it for America. See? It's all, they just got to kill that pyramid. Kill the pyramid.
A colonial conspiracy.
That's exactly it. That's where I wear tin foil.
I promised myself I wouldn't go there. Do you see?
You went there.
It's his fault. It's your fault.
We won. We all won. We got her to convert. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So the food pyramid. It's interesting because like there's a good book called Eating History, right? And it talks about how there was no dairy industry really. There's people with a few cows, and some people drank a little bit of milk here and there. But we didn't have cereal for milk until World War II because Dr. Kellogg, Dr. Graham hadn't created Quaker Oats and cornflakes yet. And so then they created those, I think, 1940 something. Then World War II came out, and it was the sequel to World War I believe. But it wasn't a prequel like the freaking Star Wars stuff. But
deep breath.
All right.
Holly, deep breath.
Then, I thought you Then the Nazis made all the men go to war and made the women go to work for the war. And then we had children that needed to eat instant food, so they created instant breakfast cereal, which was cornflakes and oats, and they tasted better with sweet milk, which is sugar, than water. So then there was a sudden need, it became a big thing, and then everything was dairy. You gotta have dairy if you want anything to work.
Okay.
But what's crazy is the cow that makes the dairy doesn't drink dairy to make strong bones, strong muscles. You know what it does? What does it do?
Eats greens.
That's right. All the cow does is eat salad all day long, drink water, move around. It worked that time.
You seem to know these cows really well.
Moved around, right?
Yeah.
And based on moving around and greens and water, it makes so much protein that it can make a 1,200-pound beast, a 75-pound baby, and bones 3 times stronger than a human, and make enough vitamin D to be healthy and happy. Somehow